All right, I think we are live. Let me just make sure. Yep. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Hey everybody, this is Joe Langworthy here with my co-host Thomas Woelfel for episode 36 of Tailgate Talk, a six-column sports podcast. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but I don't know about you, Thomas, but kind of been some sickness going around my house, so hasn't really been top of the priority list, that and the holiday. But we apologize for our loyal listener. Sorry to my dad that he didn't have anything to listen to.
Might have lost our one listener with our absence.
Right. But we're back. We'll no promises that we'll not miss a week or two there around Christmas, but we'll try to keep doing these. It's obviously a good time to be a Mizzou fan, and we'll keep doing these through basketball season. Even though the Tailgate Talk name doesn't really make sense during basketball, but we'll keep doing it. And glad to be back. We do have some good stuff to talk about. I don't even really remember basketball wise what had happened last time we talked. I think we lost the
positive. It's a positive thing. We have had a hiatus when it comes to basketball talk on the show, because I think shortly after our most recent episode 2 weeks ago, we got beat by Jackson State. I don't even know if we want to get into that. That was maybe the most difficult game to watch in a long time for Missouri basketball.
It was rough.
That was painful.
I do think, I will give my glass half full take, and that is that loss looked worse on paper than I think it'll end up being. I think Jackson State, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they'll fall flat on their face and lose the rest of their games, but I think they'll be a better. I was going to look up what they've done since then. Maybe I should do that before I make that.
Lost. I got it right here for you. They lost at Georgetown 88-81, and they beat Arkansas State 75-71. So they're now.
There you go. I mean, they lost to Georgetown. Whoop-de-doo. But,
I mean, they lost to some bad teams.
They did. But I do think that they will, they're not in a great conference. I think they'll win some games in their conference they're not going to suddenly shoot up to, 30th in net or whatever, but I don't think they're going to stay at 300 is all I'm saying.
I think that's a game that
I'm not saying it's a good loss.
Well, I think it's a really bad loss. I think the only if you want to talk about a positive, the only positive from that is that the game happened so early in the year. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I don't see how you can take any positives from it. We didn't play well. We turned the ball over 18 times.
No,
it was 10 offensive rebounds.
It was one of those games. Being there, it was like you felt like at some point Mizzou was going to make a run and win it just because they should, and it just never happened. It was like they were Mizzou's clearly the more talented team, clearly should win the game, was just playing terrible, and you just thought, okay, well, they'll just, they're a better team. At some point, they'll go on a run and they kind of did, but then, they were up, 6 with like a minute left, and they just fell apart there at the end again. And it was just a pitiful performance. I'm sure Coach Gates used more choice language than that even. But yeah, just not a good game. But they bounce back. That's the thing that I think really matters from that is we bounce back, and we've won 2 games since then, I believe. We beat, obviously we beat Pitt on Tuesday night.
We've won 3 games since then. We
3
beat
games?
South Carolina State 82-59. We beat, I think,
then,
yeah, Loyola maybe 78-70, and then Pitt. So I think
Loyola,
between the Pitt game, and the Jackson State game, I think you kind of see the 2 sides of the coin for what this Missouri team can be. Obviously, we're still early in the year. There's a lot of time left. But you've seen the good and the bad. I mean, you basically get out-rebounded by Jackson State. They get 10 offensive rebounds on you. You turn the ball over 18 times. And it's going to be tough to win that game regardless of who you're playing. And then you go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has fewer offensive rebounds against us, so we rebounded the ball better. We took care of the ball better. I think we only had 8 turnovers against Pittsburgh, and we win the game.
Yeah.
Now, obviously shooting is a piece of that too, but with the way we play, you got to know you're not going to shoot 50% every night with the amount of threes we shoot. So you got to find other ways to win the game, and if you're not making shots, at least make the other team beat you, which means make them make shots. But you just got to hope that was the one dud this year and it doesn't keep popping up, because I think, if you get to end of February and we have these random clunkers against teams that aren't good, then that's going to be something that, the selection committee will use as an excuse not to pick us for a potential NCAA tournament bid if we're in that position. If we don't have any more of those and we start to win games and we end up with 20, 23 wins, somewhere in that range, and that's the only game that we kind of fall on our face on, then I think they probably sit there and say it's a blip on the radar. It was early in the year. Team was still getting their act together. And you can come up with any number of excuses about players that had just been suspended for 3 games for no reason and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I just think it's too early to know the narrative behind that game when it matters. And we're going to figure that out as the season goes along. And, honestly, the next 4 games are very important. I think Wichita State on Sunday, and then wedged between the Kansas game and the Illinois game, you got Seton Hall. So you've got to definitely win 2 of the next 4. It'd be ideal to win 3 of the next 4. But we're kind of starting to get into the meat of the schedule, because after that comes conference play. Yeah,
you only have one more kind of gimme game. And even, I don't want to necessarily say anything.
That's a tough
at this point, but,
that's a tough word to use.
Right. Yeah, I think my biggest take on the Jackson State game is it doesn't necessarily eliminate us from tournament possibilities, but it makes the margin for error a lot slimmer, a lot more narrow. So,
yep, absolutely right.
Gotta win a few games that we're not supposed to. We needed to do that anyways, but kind of just ramps up the pressure a little bit. So we'll see. Wichita State should be a good test on Sunday. It's on ESPN2. If you're going to the game, it is the teddy bear toss game. So bring a teddy bear to throw onto the court. Donate to kids in need around Columbia. Always a good time. Always fun watching. This is going to sound sadistic of me, but always fun watching the little old ladies that pay a lot of money to sit really close to the court and then get pummeled with teddy bears. People just throwing them from the upper deck and just little old ladies ducking for cover because they're getting hit by
bring an umbrella,
Beanie Babies.
Bring an umbrella for those bottom rows.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's a fun one.
But should be a good one. Hopefully we can get out of there with the win. And then, like you said, kind of a gauntlet leading up to Christmas. Kansas on the road in Lawrence. You're never gonna be easy at Allen Fieldhouse. Seton Hall in Kansas City, and then obviously bragging rights in St. Louis. So tough stretch, but we'll see. That's kind of the thing with this basketball team this year. We talked about it early on. Don't really know what we were going to be. Didn't really know what we were going to be. Didn't know if it was going to be a full-on rebuild, full-on, kind of transition year. Obviously, I don't think anybody was really expecting us to have the same success that we had last year. But again,
right.
Last year's success was kind of a surprise. So you never know. But I do think that it'll kind of tell us a lot about our team the next 4 games, like you said. If they win 3, you have some hope. If they win 2, you still have some hope. And if any less than that, you're kind of okay.
Yeah, I think 2 of the next 4 is a must. If you do fewer than that, then your backs are really against the wall, and you're starting to try to figure out what games you might have a chance to steal down the stretch. But
you start to kind of have to think, okay, it's going to have to take a miracle run through conference play.
Right. So, but obviously, we've had no luck with Kansas the last couple of years that we've played them. As much as it pains you to say it. I mean, we've gotten run out of the gym twice. So. And we've run Illinois out of the gym last time we played them. So hopefully we can continue one of those, and we can flip the script on the other one.
Right.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Still have some faith. It should still excite fans, at least to this point. Now that could change in the next couple of weeks, but still something to be excited about.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think that's kind of takes us up to the present with basketball. So last time when we talked football last, I think it
was just before Florida.
Yeah, we were previewing Florida, right? So we have a couple games to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about the Florida game to start off with. That was crazy.
Yeah, kept everyone on their seats, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
On the edge of their seats.
I think, it's always fun when a play that you're always going to remember happens. But then you kind of think about it and you're like, it shouldn't have really had to happen. We should have put that game away a lot earlier. But, that kind of is the story of a lot of those kind of plays for Mizzou, at least. But, I do think that 4th and 17 is going to be that's going to go down with the Mo Miracle with, those kind of plays as holy crap, I was there when that happened kind of thing in Mizzou football history.
Yeah, it was certainly fun to watch. It was just kind of funny. I mean, you had to know who they were going to be looking for. I mean,
right.
You're going to throw it to the best player on the field. And there was, really, he was about as open as you're going to get in that type of situation. So,
very well-designed play for sure.
Well-designed play. I know there was maybe kind of some wide receiver screens going on down the field that helped them get open. But like you said, shouldn't have been in that situation. But the thing is the good teams find ways to win those games regardless of how they get in those situations. So, I will give the defense a little bit of a pass just in that. You go from a quarterback in Graham Mertz who's very traditional, step back in the pocket, try to throw the ball around, to basically a dual threat dude that had no interest in throwing the ball.
You have to completely change your mindset. And that's tough
you have
to do.
Completely change your mindset, and you got to change your game plan, and the coach can call the plays differently, but you've got to get everybody on the field on the same page. And that's very tough to do without having any, without having a week's preparation. And not to mention, you saw how we handled the last big time running quarterback earlier this year in LSU, and Jane Daniels ran all over us. Not that Florida's dude was Jane Daniels, but he obviously was able to run, and that caused some issues for us. But at the end of the day, the dudes responded and gave it back to the thicker kicker, who You know, I think we can all now officially forgive him for that miss against Auburn and say, okay, 61 yards against Kansas State. Then you had a big game-winning field goal against Florida.
Right.
You know, we can forget about last year's misstep and be thankful for the excitement he's provided this year.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an exciting finish, a fun one for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, good teams find a way to win those games no matter what it takes. You know, that's as much as we, you know, kind of wish that we'd won by more. The only thing that matters is that we won, and we did. And so that kind of takes us into.
And real quick too, Joe. And let's be honest, if 10 years from now, if we had just won that game by 17 points and nothing really crazy happened, it would have just been another game in the year. But now, 10 years from now, you'll say, hey, dude, remember that 4th and 17 we converted against Florida, marching down the field?
It's what makes
it creates much better memories.
It's what makes sports fun. I mean, yeah.
There you go. That's why you go watch.
Right. And so that kind of takes us into the last football game, which was not as interesting. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I was talking to somebody yesterday about the game, and when you really think about the game itself, it wasn't that entertaining a game because it was so one-sided that it was just kind of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, the most entertaining part from a nerd's perspective, like definitely like mine, yours too, probably as you watch the game, is okay, we're up by a bajillion points going into the fourth quarter. Let's see what we've got coming back next year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, that was half the entertainment value for me after, of course, maybe a little bit of the scuffle there in the first half. And just honestly, the complete Notre dominance the first 3 quarters was fairly impressive. I mean, you don't see that in the SEC. That's something you'd expect against, you know, one of the cupcakes you schedule early in the year. So that was impressive. But for me, a lot of the excitement came in the fourth quarter when, you know, we get our tight end much more involved. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in the span of like 16 game seconds or whatever it was.
I think it was 6.
6. Okay. Marquise Gracial, I know, I think got a number of different drives there in the fourth quarter. So he started to get his feet wet, and hopefully he returns next year and he's somebody that can contribute. You know, and you start to see, you started to see more receivers getting time, and also defensive backs. I think we saw a number of, I think was it Roche and I forget the other guy's name, but we had a number of different freshmen in there that you hope
McNeil
can
get time.
Yep, and yeah, Shamar McNeil. You hope you can start to see guys make an impact in the future, getting an opportunity against Arkansas. So it was fun for me. Maybe not the average person watching a Missouri football game because you're up by 40-something points, and the game was very much over midway through the third quarter. But I mean, honestly, as dominant of a victory as you'll see, that between that and the Tennessee game, and the SEC, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look, but I'm fairly sure the only other team in the SEC that had a game like that this year was Georgia. You know, they put it on a couple teams. You know, Ole Miss, they beat into the ground, and
Kentucky they put 51 up on Kentucky, I think.
So, that is just like you said, rare in the SEC. Bama didn't even do that this year.
Not this year, no.
Very rare, really good to see. Like we said, just see them play a game like they did against Florida, where they kind of let Florida hang around, and it was kind of clear to me that whole Florida game that Mizzou was the better team and should have been winning by more, and they let Florida hang around. They didn't capitalize. They didn't finish drives. And I know you and I kind of talked about it during the game, kind of worried there at the beginning, like that first drive where they had to settle for a field goal. I think that might have been our first drive. Did we score a touchdown the first drive, or was it the field goal the first drive? Right there in the first quarter, one of the drives we should have scored a touchdown, but had to kind of settle after getting it maybe even into the red zone and kicked a field goal, and then did that again in the second quarter. And you're like, okay, we're up 20-0. I'm not super worried about it, but you're also kind of looking at it like it could be 28-0. And so just kind of like probably obviously overreacting, but you're thinking, okay, we're not capitalizing on drives again. Hopefully this doesn't come back to bite us.
Yeah. So I got it pulled up now, but basically we punted the first drive and we scored a touchdown. They fumble. We start the ball. End up having to settle for a field goal. And, at that point, you're sitting there and it doesn't come back to cost you.
Yeah. I think we lost your video, by the way. Still hear you, but.
Yeah, I lost you.
I can still hear you. But yeah, while Thomas is figuring that out, he got a new iPad. That's what he's he's figuring out the technology. But yeah, it was like I said, kind of overreacting at the beginning about missing those drives, but then obviously kind of put everything together. That third quarter performance especially was just complete and utter domination. Defense obviously played dominant the whole game. And, being there in Arkansas, the air really did kind of come out of the stadium as soon as KJ Jefferson got hurt. Obviously I don't want anybody to get hurt playing the game, and but you kind of got the feeling that it was over at that point. And so just it was a fun atmosphere to be around all the Mizzou fans down there. The stripe the away game didn't really work, but there was a ton of Mizzou fans. I think it was a little too cold to really do that because every Mizzou fan wanted to wear black anyways. But a lot of fun being down there, and really cool to see as the Arkansas fans all left, all the Mizzou fans kind of migrated to the same side. So by the end of the game, there was like 3 sections that were just solid Mizzou fans, and just kind of turned into a party. Everybody kind of joking around. Was really disappointed that Arkansas didn't play Mr. Brightside for us, but nothing we can do about that. But
yeah, and imagine being an Arkansas fan and getting told a week ahead of time that the coach is coming back for another year, only for him to show up and be down 40 points in the third quarter against your rival. I mean, that would have been demoralizing.
So many of us were talking in the stands, even just like, I know they said he's coming back, but like they could fire him now at this point, right? He's down 41-0. Like, this is embarrassing for their university. Like, they could fire him. Like, they could go back on their word or whatever. But I don't think that's. I think if they were going to do that, they would have done it already at this point. So they get another year, Sam. I guess they definitely aren't, because they just hired Motorcycle Boy back for to be their OC. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and looking forward to beating them again next year. But I guess it won't be at Thanksgiving this year, but it's next year. So I think that was the last Thanksgiving Black Friday version of the game. least for a while.
Yep, that's for sure. At least it seems that way, which is kind of a bummer. But
we'll start a new tradition of beating Oklahoma at that point. So
yep, and I think it'll probably be on Saturday, but that'll give us a little more time to digest our Thanksgiving meal before going and whipping up on an old Big 12 rival, huh?
Yeah. Oh, kind of off topic, but what do you eat for Thanksgiving since you don't eat anything?
Well, turkey.
Turkey and mac and cheese. Is that about
turkey,
it?
mac and cheese, and the homemade Jell-O shots.
Oh, okay. all the major food groups there.
Yeah, there you go.
Turkey, mac and cheese, Jell-O, and vodka. Thanksgiving with Thomas.
Yeah, there's potatoes and vodka. So.
Oh yeah, true. Good point. That's where you get your potatoes.
Yeah, you know what? You asked like you're the first person to ask me that, but I've thought of it before.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are the games that have happened, but the excitement of the off season, we still have the bowl game. Obviously, we'll find that out here in a couple of days. Sunday at I think 1:30 is about when they're going to announce that. But we can maybe talk about that a little bit, but also the real excitement starts Monday, I think, which is when the transfer portal window officially opens. I think it's the 4th, isn't it? Or is it Sunday?
Yep, it's Monday. It starts on Monday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Monday the 4th is when the transfer portal window opens. Players who are on teams whose coaches have been fired have already been able to enter, and graduates, I believe, can enter at any time. So a few people have already entered. We've already started seeing some offers go out to those people. And obviously, just because you can't officially enter the portal, all that really means is that you can't be in the system, and coaches can't.
Yeah.
They can't reach out to you. Obviously, it's happening. Nobody acts like it's not. But players have started announcing that they're going to transfer, that they're going to enter into the portal.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite rumor so far from the transfer portal?
Well, I mean, I think we pointed out on Twitter on a different text message line that Mizzou is saying that now they don't have to recruit kids from the portal; they get to pick them, and you see that and get optimistic. Hopefully, they're not overselling. To
be fair, I think that Coach Carl Reed, said that about Mizzou, not Mizzou saying that about themselves. Although Drink did say that about recruiting. But yes, I agree that it's
So anyway,
it's not being oversold.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Things happen quick. Mizzou's in a little bit of a different scenario this year. In the past, when you're going to a mid-level bowl, it's pretty normal for guys to hit the portal early and go find their new team. Whereas whenever you go to a New Year's Six bowl, obviously guys that are going to have a chance to even get on the field at all are much less likely to hit the portal until after their season's over. And so I think there's got to be a lot of, looking in the mirror on the coaching staff and talking to kids, and they need to make sure they have a firm understanding of, hey, they might not have hit the portal yet, but there's a good chance this kid's going to leave, to make sure they're doing their work on the front end to have that position filled even before the kid officially on the Mizzou side hits the portal. Because by the time a New Year's Six bowl game rolls around, a lot of the big players will be snatched up. So, I think they're already reaching out to defensive linemen, which obviously you knew was going to be necessary. I think probably corner is going to be a big target for them, and then on the offensive side of the ball, probably running back and maybe offensive line. But I think what you're seeing, at least from the guys that on Mizzou that have already announced, is that we're probably going to have to find some depth at offensive line, and we're probably going to have to find some depth at linebacker. I think, assuming our two guys come back, Newsom Chuck Hicks come back next year, you've got two pretty good starters, but we've had a couple guys that would potentially be backups for those positions already leave. So I think that, on the defensive side of the ball, you're probably looking for 3 or 4 starters and then depth. And then on the offensive side of the ball, you're probably looking for 1 or 2 starters in depth. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate the transfer portal, given the late nature in which Mizzou players, generally speaking, are going to hit the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, we've already seen probably 5 or 6 guys say they're going to transfer, including a couple that even like Gabe DeArmond was like, I didn't know they were still on the team. But I do think it's kind of interesting. I don't know if this is actually going to work or if anybody's actually going to do it, but I did see somewhere that Drink said that even if they've entered the transfer portal, he's going to allow them to be on the team for the bowl game if they want to. And I think that's probably mainly aimed at the linebacker backups. Like Carmicah Glass earlier today announced that he was going to transfer, and I bet Drink is going to try to get him to play in the bowl game, even though he's going to transfer, just because they need the depth.
Damian Wilson. Damian Wilson's a linebacker who has played for us this year that hit the portal. Xavier Simmons is a backup linebacker. He's already hit the portal.
He's the one that Gabe said, I don't think he hasn't been on the roster for over a year.
Right?
So he's the one that medically retired, or we made medically retire, but you can transfer and then play at the next school if they clear you. So Gabe was like, I thought he had left already. And I agreed with Gabe. I had no idea he was still in Columbia. So
and then you just mentioned the third guy. Of course, he's Glass. A linebacker too. Carmichael Glass, and then Chad Bailey hasn't really played, so I don't know if you can assume he'll be ready to go. So point being, you just need players. But I mean, there could be. He might also be saying, "Hey, we'll still let you dress for the game if you hit the portal, just to experience it." He might be saying that just to kind of help kids say, hey, if you're going to go to the portal, you might as well go now, because we'd rather find out now than on January 3rd.
Yeah, tell us now, even if you want to play.
Right, and we'll let you go play special teams, and
and get the bowl gifts and do all that stuff, and
that's interesting, because I mean, you got to be confident in your locker room if you're going to allow that to happen. So I think that probably tells you the confidence he has in the leadership, not only on the coaching staff, but in the locker room. You got to have guys that are going to be able to accept the fact that a kid is already halfway out the door, but is allowed to play in the game. So I hadn't seen that. That's very interesting, but I do think probably it serves a couple different purposes. One, of course, depth at different positions, but 2, like we said, helps them to get a firm understanding as to what they need to recruit starting on Monday, instead of finding out, like I said, the first week of January, when a lot of the good players are committed elsewhere.
I kind of thought about it for a little bit and thought maybe that it's, has something to do with a lot of the portal entries we'll see from Mizzou are Drink telling these kids they should transfer, is saying, hey, maybe you need to look somewhere else. We'll let you dress out. You've been a part of this team. For this season, so we'll let you play in the bowl game. We'll let you, experience that, get the gifts, get the experience of the trip, do all that, maybe even if we need you or if there's time, we put you in the game because, get you some film or whatever. But, we'll let you participate, but next year we need your spot for somebody else. So I can see some of that happening because, I don't want to jump too far ahead. I don't want to, be too overly optimistic, but, I think that there's a chance that Drink thinks next year has a shot at being just as successful as this year, and, is kind of pushing to have the spots for some transfers that can make instant impacts and really help us out. So
Yeah, I think you're probably right. When you take a look at the schedule, I know it's a little bit lighter next year than it was this year. Um, but I mean, he is going to have to recruit in some volume in the transfer portal, especially defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Considering how much you're losing on the defensive line, you're losing both starting corners, presumably to the NFL. So he definitely has some work to do, but I think you're going to see, and I think Tariano Pride, or I don't know for sure how to say his first name, but
Yeah.
a corner out of Clemson that was a big time recruit out of East St. Louis that chose Clemson over us. He could have gone pretty much anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at least with the message that's being put out there, the Mizzou coaching staff thinks they're going to have good chances at guys like that who should be able to step in, like you said, and make an instant impact, but also still have multiple years of eligibility left and aren't just going to
Mm-hmm.
be one and dones here at Mizzou. So definitely an interesting spot to be in. This time last year, I think probably at least I was much more nervous about where things would go, but
Mm-hmm.
considering how the season's gone and how a lot of these transfers have washed out over the last couple of years for Mizzou, you got to be positive, I think, and thinking that he's going to be able to find guys that can help us next year.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be a fun month or so. I think Drink was asked about it and asked what his holiday plans were, and he's like, "It's going to be the busiest month of the year for me. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I think he said something about
Christmas.
caffeine and private planes. So, he's going to be going everywhere trying to recruit kids because, I mean, I really do think that it's one of those things where you return Luther Burden, you return Brady Cook, you return 3/5 of your offensive line. You return what is probably going to be all freshman SEC tight end. Lot to like on that side of the ball. There's going to be excitement around the program just because those are going to be easy to sell to the fans. It's going to be easy to say, look, Brady Cook and Luther Burden, they're going to make tons of appearances at camps and at grocery stores and at, NIL events and all that stuff this summer just to hype up this team. And there's going to be a lot of hype going into the year. And so it's going to be electric atmospheres at Faroe, and you got to capitalize. You got to, try to catch magic in the bottle again next year. And so Drink has his work cut out for him. Like you said, it's not going to be necessarily easy because we do have to replace a lot on the defensive side. A lot of very productive players, but there's also some bones there that are still going to be there. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but Christian Williams is coming back. From all indications, Johnny Walker will be back. Maybe even Niles Gaddy. So you're not replacing much on the edge at all, other than Darius Robinson, who this time last year wasn't an edge player. You got two linebackers coming back who are not necessarily starters, but they have now started games and have played decently well. So there's some pieces there. I don't think you're going to lose any. Might not lose any safeties. Pieces are there. You got to replace very productive players in the two corners who have, I think arguably have been the main reason our defense has been at what it is this year.
But the other thing too is
there's hope.
We obviously had some injuries this year, especially at linebacker and at corner. I believe both our corners missed games, but that could end up being a positive because I think we did find out that we've got two very capable linebackers ready to go for next year, assuming they both return. And then, Marcus Clark, I think, is an answer at one of your corner positions. He looked very good at corner for us. So.
And Norwood has flashed. I mean, he's looked good at times. He's been inconsistent, but that's one of those things where with time you get more consistent, hopefully. Yep. So again,
we've seen him, like you said, we've seen flashes. I feel confident in one of the two corner positions. I feel good about both replacements at linebacker. Like you said, we're bringing Williams back at defensive tackle, and And with Johnny Walker, assuming he doesn't transfer out and he comes back for what might be his last year before a trip to the NFL, you're looking at, half of your defensive line returning and being very confident there, being very confident about both linebackers, like I said. And then, depending on who comes back in the secondary, there's a very good chance, you're only really replacing that corner and maybe feel like you need one more safety or, maybe the safety's already on the roster.
And just maybe some depth pieces, and then you're
good. Right. So we could be closer than we realize, depending on, who ends up hitting the transfer portal. You hope people return. But, if we could find a defensive tackle that can step in and help right away, whether that's a starter or, in the two deep there behind Williams and probably Gracial. And then I wouldn't mind a defensive end that can, with maybe a grad transfer, somebody that's shown that they can do it. Then I feel like you're
another one of these small school FCS DNs that comes in and does pretty well, because those have kind of worked for us the last 2 years. And then, like I said, Gaddy could still come back, and who knows what improvements he makes. So it'll be interesting. Be a fun off season, because there'll be something that we haven't had in off season in a while, and that is some hope and some confidence. So it'll be good. We'll have a lot of things to talk about that aren't going to be depressing.
Yeah. Now, do you for the bowl game, do you have a preference on opponent and location?
I have a preference on preference on location. I want Dallas. I want the Cotton Bowl, just because that's going to be the easiest to get to from Columbia. It's drivable. There's lots of flights. There's flights from Columbia directly to Dallas. I don't know if I'm going to spend the money on that. I've heard rumors that the Friday before the Cotton Bowl, all those flights are already sold out. So I'll probably, if I go, I'll probably fly from St. Louis. So Dallas would be my first preference. Peach Bowl would be my second. Atlanta would also be fairly easy to get to. Opponent wise, I don't really care. I'm not as, most people are saying they don't want to play Texas. I don't really want to play Texas, but I don't really care. If we play Texas, I'm not going to get all up in arms about it. I think my preference, looking at things, would be Penn State, just because I think that'd be kind of fun. And I think that's a game that we could win. Not that I don't think we could win. I think we could beat Texas. I don't think Texas doesn't scare me as much as I, would think a 12-1 team would scare me. But I think Penn State would be my Penn State in the Cotton Bowl would be my dream. What about you?
Yeah, I care a little bit less about location, given I'm not going to be able to go to it. But I mean, when I think about it, I want to see us play a team that we don't typically play, which obviously Texas we haven't played in a while, but we
played in a bowl game not that long ago.
And that's also a team we're going to be seeing now every other year moving forward, being in the SEC. So
right.
I don't know for sure. When you think about it, I want to see a team that we don't play very often and that has name recognition across the country, but also that we have a chance to beat. That's kind of my criteria. So probably Penn State 1 would be my first option. I think there's a chance that Florida State loses this weekend. And, I do think that Florida State has name recognition, and I think that's a game we could definitely beat. We could definitely win. I've heard people say Washington, but at least me living in the Southeast and being in the Southeastern Conference, I just don't think that West Coast teams have the same cachet outside of USC. So
a team like Washington, I haven't watched a ton, but I've watched enough of to kind of realize the reason they're a solid team, but they're a 7-5, 8-4 team without Penix or however you say his name. And if they lose tonight, they play tonight, right? That game's probably
they're playing as we speak. They're playing. Yep.
Okay. If they lose tonight, I can't imagine he plays in the bowl game. You know, I would think that with national championship hopes going into the night, if they lose, he's probably going to be.
Yeah, I think that just depends on the culture. I mean, the one thing you got to remember with him is that, I mean, he's been around for a long time. This is his like 5th year in college, so he's not like one of these young dudes that's going to be a first round pick. He's probably, in all likelihood, it sounds like, based on what I've being a Bears fan and being tuned into the draft, because that's all we have to look forward to. It sounds like he's probably a 2nd or 3rd day pick. So, I mean, maybe, but again, you know, at least in where I live, you know, if you say, oh yeah, you beat Florida State, oh, well, that's a good team you beat. If you beat Penn State, oh, Big Ten, that's a big team you beat. Oh, you beat Washington. No one cares about football on the West Coast.
That's Big Ten football.
Yeah, right. They play football out there. Wouldn't even know it. So, you know, like I said, my first and second choice are probably Penn State, Florida State. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're playing in January.
I did see in Matter's article this morning that we have never played Washington or Florida State.
Is that right?
Yeah. We've played Penn State before, but we've never played Washington or Florida State. There's, I think, 6. I think you said 6 Power 5 teams that we've never played, and those are 2 of them. So it's kind of interesting. Be kind of fun to play a team we've never. You know, they can't say Washington leads the series, whatever to whatever. They're just talk about how we've never played before. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to be upset regardless, obviously, but
right.
I would just, you know, I do have my preferences just like everybody else.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about all we have. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. I think, you know, obviously the regular season's over. It's our first college football season doing this podcast, and you know, I'm sure not a lot. Obviously, not everybody listens, but just want to thank those that do. And I think Joey, last one we did, I think had over 400 views on Twitter. So there
you go.
We're headed in the right direction. That's more than the zero we start. More than the zero we started off with. You know.
Exactly. Well, we had one right off the bat. I made my wife watch it. The first one. But yeah, so like Thomas said, thank you to those of you who have listened this season. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to keep doing these a little bit through basketball season. Probably won't be as regular as it was for football. We're not gonna have a preview and a review episode of every game. But you know, we'll do one a week or so. And you know,
just to keep you up to date.
We'll talk football recruiting. We'll talk spring ball when that happens. We'll hopefully have some March Madness to talk about. We might even try to get some guests on. You know, I'm not super connected to the football team, but I did work for the football team, so I do know some guys back from the. I wasn't actually there still for the 2013 team, but a lot of the guys that were on that team were there when I worked there. So I've thought about trying to reach out to some of them and see if we can get them to talk to us. And, you know, but if anybody has any ideas that they want to hear us talk about or want to, you know, guests that you want us to try to get, we can do that for sure. And, you know, we'll try to spice things up a little bit now that we won't have regular football to talk about. And obviously we'll be back with a bowl preview episode and a bowl review episode, wherever that ends up being. So still a lot of good stuff to look forward to. So, yeah, like I said, thanks to those of you that have been listening. Thanks to those of you that listened today. And, we are going to sign off. So MIZ.
ZOU.